Uh, this year, as you all aware, the budget is going to be very unique. But there are many firsts this time in the budget. Few of them you know, but I will just repeat and saying that this is going to be first time that the budget will come on 1st of February. It's budget where there is not going to be planned and non-planned expenditure, but it's going to be like more a income and expenditure statement. This budget also is coming after a big move which happened in India about demonetization, and thereafter the budget is coming. So it is a lot of expectation as a result of that, because if that was a big move, then in terms of improving the economy, the industry would definitely expect even a bigger move to come forward. So as I see that, as we move forward and as we see that, few things which we feel has to happen. One is that the overall tax structure, Mr. Jaitley on his speech of budget 2 years back had said that he plans to bring down the the income tax rate to 25% by 2019. Now that this major step has happened, we would expect that this should happen faster and earlier than that. So one of our expectations would be that the tax rate for individuals and corporates should come down to 25% at the maximum rate, and also there should be some logical adjustment looking at the cost of living index, etc., about the exemption limit for the individual taxpayers. The other important thing which we see is that, and I think you might have seen that currently there is a much lesser number of people who are paying the income tax, and I think the widening of that is going to be very important. So the other important point which we expect is that there should be some measure to help increasing and widening the tax net. The demonetization has given a lot of money in the banks, and this huge amount of deposits which is now currently lying in the bank should be used for development of nation. So in the line of the national investment, infrastructure investment bonds, etc., a similar vehicle should be used to mobilize this money in development of infrastructure. And though the government has initiated already a large investment in infrastructure for last couple of budgets, we would expect this time that it should even further go up because there is more resources available. The goods and services tax is what is the next important thing which is going to happen, and I think there should be some provision to really do this thing forward. If you see one of these demonetization things, what happened is basically this debate is between a formal and informal way of working. A class of people, a class of industries who are law-abiding for following that, and the other one which is not so. And that is the debate. Now the question is that typically if you look at globally, the formal and informal economy, if you study, 90% economy is formal, about 10% is informal. We have just the reverse ratio in India. So what we need actually is to reverse the ratio again and come to 90-10, 90% formal, 10% informal. Now the biggest challenge for us, this informal economy, they consist of very, very small businesses, small vendors, small traders, and so on and so forth. So I think what we would expect is that we actually should welcome them into this formal economy. And there should be some provision for them to really, welcoming them into a formal economy from an informal economy. They should not have apprehension or fear to enter, and there should be some kind of incentive, maybe a lower interest rate or maybe some other things for them to actually be part of the formal economy in time to come. That should pave way to actually help us in widening the tax base. The other thing is this cashless economy, which is we've been talking about, or less cash economy. I think we need to really see that how it can be more efficient in terms of cost. because uh, anything which is going to cost little more, that you will find natural resistance in people to use it. So it should become cost neutral. That would be the best thing can happen. Then it can really get a boost to that. Uh, I can mention many other things to happen, but I think these are the few things which I believe are very important things to happen. Finally, what I think is that if India has to progress, and particularly in the infrastructure, if private investment has to come, then our cost of money should become competitive. And when we look at the global cost of money compared to the interest rates in India, though there is a good move that 1% interest rate has come down, we are looking forward that this interest rate can further go down in course of time, and some measures are being suggested to make that happen, so that ultimately we have a competitive interest rate. Some of the projects which are in the infrastructure area may not be viable, in the process can become viable and can happen. Also, the infrastructure sector would need some additional support in terms of providing them, most of the infrastructure project which the private players do, they do through a special purpose vehicle. And then the companies have more than one infrastructure projects. I think one comprehensive tax return kind of thing, which happens outside India in many countries, should also happen in India in the process, so that people are able to take larger risk. And basically, when you do 10 infrastructure projects, it's possible that 5 or 6 will work well, 1 or 2 may not work well, and then you pay tax there and you lose money here. That becomes very challenging for the people who are in this sector to do it. So that can also boost, because I think if economy has to grow for rapidly, the infrastructure has to give the first push and then happen. Finally, what I believe that the tax rates which we are expecting to go down should actually put extra money in the hand of people. And in the process, people will spend more. That will generate demand, and that will look at it, further investment and growth happening going forward. So this is in a nutshell, I would say, and I would happy to take any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 2 microphones, one here, one there. And people who are sitting here, they will have access to this microphone. And those of you sitting here, they will have access to that microphone. So if you can kindly raise your hands, then I'll identify 2 to 3 people this side and 2 to 3 people this side. So one after the other, they can ask questions. And when you're called out, you'll go and stand in front of the microphone, kindly identify yourself, and then put the question. And kindly be brief in asking a question, so that we can get as much as possible out of the new FICCI president. Thank you.
Can I take the first question myself? I just wanted to thank you, Venkat, Dr. Awad. I just wanted to know, the foreign direct investment policy. Because many of the foreign investors in India are looking into this sector so much, but there are lots of bureaucracy in implementing this. Do you think that Jaitley will have something to offer in this budget?
So one other thing, I think one other thing which we have also been representing to government and saying that there is a first phase of ease of doing business has happened, but we need to move into phase 2. I call it ease of doing business 2.0 to happen, to actually address issues, because though a lot of things have been reduced and a lot of things have become simplified, we need to even do much more simplification going forward if we want to really see that people are able to come here, set up industry, able to establish business fast, and if they don't work out, they can also get out of that very easily. All that will be required. So we have also represented on that. Of course, I don't know whether that will be part of the budget speech, but I'm sure there is a move in the government. We hear there's some meetings happen. So we believe that there is some thinking on that area as well.
Thank you.
Pankaj.
I work for a Japanese agency, Kyoto News. So I just want to have an idea from you. That, can you give us an insight on postponed its time is going to introduce it. What, can you just explain us that what benefits does it have for the common man and the businessman?
So I think first thing is about, I don't have the figures in front of me to tell you exact number, and you would appreciate that I won't know everything about it, but I believe there is a significant interest in Japan. I met recently the Japanese ambassador and the Japanese Jetro team here in India and several other friends. So they have a very big plan to invest in India. Of course, they are investing in infrastructure. So as you're aware that they're investing into railway with railways and so on and so forth. But they, individual companies have come in a big way. So of course, very close to Delhi, near on the border of Delhi towards Rajasthan, there is a Nimrana is a place where the largest Japanese number of Japanese companies are already there. But more Japanese companies are coming also in other part of India as well. And we clearly see that there is a huge interest from Japanese company to invest in India. As FICCI, we work very closely with the Japanese industry association, including Jetro. We also have office in Japan, and we work with them very closely. So a lot of Japanese companies also are our members, and we serve them. So I believe that will happen. Your next question was on GST. Now, GST is basically going to create a kind of a compliant system. The chain will not be broken. So every stage of goods movement, there will be a tax and there will be credit. So there is no tax on tax, but there is a credit on that. So as a result, everything will become normal. Now, question what will happen in the process is it will create a level playing field for everybody. A person who is fully compliant and person who basically finds a way to bypass today have a disadvantage, and in the process the right things are not happening. So I think this would create an environment where some of the challenges we have about less tax collections, or people are not in the formal economy, all those issues will large extent addressed, because the whole chain will be now taxed, and in the process there will be, and it will provide a more compliant trade actually in the process.
I have a question for you, Mr. Patel. When India introduced the economic reforms in 1991, it was thought that the economy will be more free and more people will benefit by the reforms. But last week, Oxfam released a report in Davos which says 1% of Indian population controls 90% of wealth. And today, I think the Oxfam's Indian CEO gave an interview in the Times of India, which said 67 billionaires in India control more than 50% of the country's wealth. And since 1991, India has become a more unequal society. And wealth is being created, but jobs are not being created. And the people at the bottom of the ladder are not benefiting from that. And India today is the second most unequal society in the world after Russia. How do you respond to this state of affairs? Thanks.
So first of all, I think I have not verified the data, so I would not like to endorse the data which has basically been published by Oxfam. I think principle always remains in everything in life, that 80-20 principle exists, and we all know. Anything you look at, 80-20, if you look at your media, and if you look at India, number of newspapers available in India, for example, there will be 20% of the newspaper which will cover 80% of the subscribers. I think that principle remains. So there is, to some extent, these skewed things do exist. I am not sure that similar thing does not exist in other part of the world. It may be also similar. The question is, we can decide today that all this money which these 67 people is there, we take back. Will that solve our problem? Then we should do that, right? I think that is not going to solve the problem. More employment generation can only occur if there is a right kind of investment climate occurs in the country and more business opportunity exists, because without that, more investment will not happen. But what is going to be required is that as technology is progressing, the kind of jobs people will need to do now is going to be much different than before. So earlier people were doing a simple job, but now they're going to be doing a much different job. For example, previously there was a need to have a postman to deliver a post. Today we hardly use a postcard.
Email.
Correct? So then that job is not required, but then we require somebody who can develop newer tools to communicate electronically. So like that, there are going to be different opportunities going to be there. And I think what we have done well is generating a lot of jobs in service economy. We need to really now look at how do we create jobs into manufacturing economy. And that's where more investment has to come. And for that, ultimately we need to have demand, then investment will come, job will be created. But if there is no demand, then there is not going to be new investment, no job will be happening. The other point which you said, you know, these numbers is a Forbes published, some other magazines published list. These are based on what? I own a company, I have certain percentage of shareholding in that. That value of the share is so much, so then I am so much wealth. Am I going to sell my company and retire? So the whole point is something like that. So is it the wealth is actually in hand, or it's basically a perceived wealth? You live in a house in this part of Delhi, it might cost 10 crore rupees or 20 crore rupees, right? It doesn't mean that you are so wealthy. You still are, your wealth is what you have cash or income in hand. So I think that also we need to understand that what is cash component out of it and what is the wealth, which is like you built up a plant, you created a huge asset and there is a market valuation of that. You're never going to sell that. So that wealth is in somebody's hand in which way. So again, that calculation is also a challenging calculation in my opinion. Again, I'm not debating and disputing what they are saying, but I'm trying to say that we need to look at from all angles to understand what exactly it is.
Munish has the next question.
Mr. Patel, based on the remarks that you made, and I was making notes, you know, an important part of what you said, whether it's demonetization or GST implementation, inducing a formal economy, cashless digital economy, and of course making the cost of money competitive globally. You know, all of these things, and I think you just touched upon it in your last answer, all of it require India to incorporate digitization, technology and innovation very fast, at a rapid pace. And I know that FICCI has also been at the forefront of certain programs which have made things financially inclusive. And I know about Millennium Alliance. But how far is this government going, to what extent? And I know FICCI makes recommendations to the government, what should come in the budget. I mean, you are the voice of the industry. So how far is government going to really bring the elements of technology and innovation into this entire process of not just budget but beyond its implementation? And is it really going to help on us coming down on the GDP growth rate? You know, we've hit a low, and can we pull back?
So as I see today, the impact which was for a shorter period, already I see my colleagues in the formal sector of industry, they are already coming out back into the normalcy. You still see that some informal sector have some issues. We are conducting survey now to find out more about it and come out with specific recommendation for even informal sector. But I think innovation, I think, is the most important part, because we need a lot of innovation in our country if we want to create jobs. Because just doing something what is happening in West and doing here, it alone will not allow us to create enough jobs. But I believe that we have very, very capable people in this country. What we need is that today what happens, if you go to even a small place, a small man, what we call in Hindi jugaad, like that jugaad say, they make something, very unique product, but they don't know how to commercialize it, how to market it. How does this government come out with policies which would actually support in market creation activity for this? If you do this, you will see millions and millions of jobs this created, because these are the people who can really create something different, a disruptive thing happening in the society, which would create newer jobs and newer opportunity. And I believe that there are so many Indians who have these ideas in their mind, have done something, but individually or 10 pieces and ended there, and not gone in, and not been able to commercialize. And today the ecosystem is not supportive of that. So I think something to create an ecosystem where innovation can be marketed and made available to larger community. We have our own market is big enough, and from there we can go. And India-specific innovative solution can come in the process.
But you didn't tell, you didn't answer that part. Do you expect the drop in GDP to be caught up in the next year?
Definitely. I expect the GDP will go up again,
Back to normal.
back to normal.
You know, the commercialization of innovation in India, I was talking to the DRDO chief the other day and said, we have handed over to FICCI the responsibility of commercializing our inventions. You know, in America, I was in Washington some time ago, and I met a lady of Indian origin, and she said, I asked her, what do you do? She says, I work for a particular university, and it's my business to take up whatever we invent at our university to big corporations and try and, you know, commercialize them. We don't seem to have that kind of culture. The government of India spends billions of rupees, DRDO, CSIR, you know, all this. But whatever is discovered or invented stays in those laboratories. How do you take them out of the laboratories and spread to the whole of India and to the world like they do in the US?
That's exactly what I was trying to say. We need to create that ecosystem, and that ecosystem has to happen through policy intervention, where initially the state comes in the picture to really support these people, who are small people. And startup thing is something like that. Basically to support them significantly so that they can come out, they can bring their product and create opportunities. And that is what is required. That's what is there. These lady who met in USA, I think what she does is basically goes to companies, goes to private equities, go to funds and create that opportunity. Now, but we need to create that ecosystem in our country. Today, if I or you have something like that, where do we go? I can go to my company because I have a possibility. But where do you go? So I think that's what we need to create, that ecosystem. Now, expecting that the existing, taking back from the question you raised, from some few billionaires will do this, I don't think it's going to happen. It has to be the policy initiative which should actually create that ecosystem to encourage innovation, India-centric innovation.
Do you see any more incentives coming that way? I mean, it has to be incentivized. You know, if you want money in the system to create an ecosystem out of wealth or wealthy guys or just the people themselves, then the government has to give.
So I think there is a beginning with the startup. Certain benefits are being offered already. I guess that they should be further increased, but whether this will happen in this budget, I can't say.
Well, I don't see anybody raising hands in the audience. Maybe informally, perhaps we could interact with Mr. Patel. They are not. Before I invite Dr. Awad to provide a vote of thanks, Munish is closely involved with FICCI as a consultant and advisor, and he has been instrumental in getting FICCI to come on board and organize events here. I would like to invite him to say something on this occasion.
For those of you who may not know, my background is media for 32 years. But before media, I was a student of physics. So my questions are, of course, aimed at that. So my passion is technology, innovation, and I serve on the FICCI National Committee also for technology and innovation, so I know the programs. very well. But I just wanted to thank you, Pankajji, for accepting our invitation and for all of us to have this benefit of an exchange with you and some thoughts from you. I know a lot of people would want to talk to you after this, but it's been a pleasure to associate FICCI here at the Foreign Correspondents Club, and I hope that during your tenure and later, you'll visit us more often.
Sure, I'm a
now
member.
that you have
I'm your member. I have
now
a
that
card.
you are a member, but thank you so much.
Dr. Award.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. On behalf of the Foreign Correspondent Club of South Asia and all our friends that we are with you tonight, we would like to extend our gratitude and thanks to Mr. Pankaj Patel for joining us and for interacting. I think you left us with a very positive note that you are optimistic in the FICCI and the Indian industry is very high, and hoping that the budget will meet their expectations. This is going to be a major step by a government which have been yet to deliver on its promises to the people as we get the feedback. Because 2 years the government has been promising, but now after demonetization, as the President said, that in his Republic remarks that he wanted to see the double digit of the Indian economic growth in the near future for the next decade to come. So we would like to invite you most of the time now. You can use this venue as FICCI President along with your colleagues. You can utilize in our journalist field the friends who is available to us, to you in this club. We have 780 members. We can always, you have any event, you can share it with us in the email. You have anything to distribute to journalists, please feel free to come, any one of you to come here. Thank you very much. Join us for the cocktail and dinner, and we'll be happy to interact more with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The bar is